I really don't know what a God's own country would be like or look like. But to me, if there were gods who wanted to create a space for themselves, they would fill out the space with abundance, aesthetic beauty, and empathy. Abundance in the real sense equates to availability of resources from fertile soil that nurtures vegetation that feeds us to the water that sustains, thus making living possible and easy. Aesthetic beauty in the real sense equates to breathtaking landscapes and everything around them, the trees, the plants, the fruits, flowers, and even the insects, animals, and birds that forms a cycle of life around them to sustain. Empathy is nothing but what it is, a deep ability to understand problems from its core and not just feel problems but try their best to solve the problems with sincerity. This is particularly telling from the people who make the place home and how the society and infrastructure function with a dedicated intent to make the lives for not just themselves better but also for the visitors who visit the place. If a place offers abundance, aesthetic beauty, and empathy, it would be not at all wrong to call it God's own country. This is an incredible state of my incredible India. This is Kerala, a narrow land strip nestled amidst the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, a land that welcomes the first rains in the country's monsoon-dependent weather system. Kerala is not new to us. From our earlier videos, you may have already realized how frequently we visit the Wayanad area, which is the northern part of Kerala bordering Karnataka at its southeast. But this time we go deeper into the interior of Kerala with a particular intent to explore biodiversity hotspot with a special focus on finding certain endemic species. We had two targets in mind: Thattekad, to track an endemic species of bird called the Malabar Trogon, and also then drive to the nearby famous hill station of Munnar to observe and photograph the Nilgiri Tower at the Eraviculam National Park. Welcome to our YouTube channel Quest Wilderness and More. Hope you like this video. We started from Bangalore at night 9:30 p.m., touched the NH44 and headed towards the Coimbatore city. Places the road conditions were not that great, like as you can see here, and we faced this situation a lot throughout the NH44 stretch. First stop was at Krishnagiri at an A2B restaurant where we grabbed quick coffee to keep us awake at night, because we had a lot of night driving to do to reach our destination. There were roadworks going on, and often what would happen is, the 2-lane or the 3-lane side of the highway would suddenly get diverted into a single lane due to roadworks going on, and that's where heavy vehicles, smaller vehicles like ourselves, we all competed to squeeze into that single lane stretch of the diversion. You can see in this video how two trucks were trying to bully us from both the sides. But yeah, the thing is, keep your nerve strong, or when you feel it's not safe to do so, just give up. So yeah, this is how it went for certain stretches of NH44. you know, we wanted to visit the famous Athirapalli Falls on our way initially, but on reaching the area, we actually dropped the idea due to heavy tourist traffic. There was no point, we felt, no place to park the car. The melodious chirping of the birds in the pristine surroundings were getting suppressed. On the way, we had some egg curry and appam, very local and typical Kerala breakfast. Very little did we know that this would be the normal breakfast for us for the coming few days. Then we headed towards our first destination, Thattekad, traversing through tropical jungles, quaint villages, and rubber plantation. We passed by a township and a man-made lake. We halted briefly by the lake side to get some footage and photograph of some chestnut-headed bee-eaters. We let the bee-eaters do their daily mundane stuff and went ahead and soon entered a dense forest with tropical vibes. We saw a bridge over a river ahead of us. It didn't take us much time to realize that it was nothing but the legendary Periyar River. The Google map asked us to take a left just before the front tires of our car were willingly about to roll into the bridge over the Periyar River. But the left was just a dense forest comprising of broad-leafed deciduous trees and some evergreen kinds of trees as well. Where was the road to the left to steer my car into? I decided to disobey the other passengers in the car, an unique advantage, an undue advantage that is often claimed by the person who gets to sit behind the steering wheel. And so I decided to reverse my car about 20 to 30 meters, but there was no visible road in the first sight even after doing this. On close watch, an off-road trail revealed itself, buried beneath a blanket of fallen leaves, well concealed to those who were expecting a tar road. Google called it the Nest Resort Road, and that was exactly the name of the accommodation we had booked, the Nest Thattekad. Our car is a 2023 Maruti Suzuki XL6 with manual transmission with a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated petrol engine churning around 102-ish British horsepower and a decent 138-ish Newton meters of torque. I always preferred manual transmission on such average engine cars, especially in conditions like these. I remember in United States how switching my automatic CVVT transmission Toyota Camry into manual mode helped me to traverse the humble front-wheel drive vehicle through dense snow on hilly slopes. If you ask me, I still prefer a manual transmission car. Not at all nervous about the challenge ahead of us, in we went, venturing into the off-road trail surrounded by dense forest. We covered the first 1 kilometer with barely nothing challenging my car's capability, until we arrived at a patch that was overly narrow, with dense forest on one side and the banks of the Periyar River on the other. Any careless misplacement of the R16 195 tires could send us rolling down into the river. Then came the real challenge when the Google map showed we were barely 400 meters from the accommodation. A brown Renault Duster came ahead on front of us. Both the cars halted facing each other. I got down and so did the young man who was driving the Duster. We evaluated the situation and I advised the young man to try to get on in an angle on the slopes on the opposite side of the river edge. I explained to him how we were going to do this and he agreed to do so. After some few seconds of tense moments, on one of those seconds, my right rear tire of the car was actually hanging in the air over the Perrier River. Thankfully, the front wheels of my car had enough power and traction to pull us out of the situation. The resort rooms were very basic, but the good thing was that the AC was working just fine. AC is a good to have commodity in the hot and humid Kerala weather. Right away, we could tell Thattekad was a paradise for birders like us. We were greeted by the pleasant sight of racket-tailed Drongos, melodious calls of the white-cheeked barbets, continuous chirping of the bulbuls and the flycatchers were often accentuated by the orchestrated sounds of the whistling thrush and sometimes the common hawk cuckoo, also known as the brain fever bird. Food options were limited in this accommodation due to the operational challenges of attending to guests in a remote forest area. There were only 2 people serving the guests, who tried his best to attend to us, and a handyman whose job was mainly keeping the place clean. But what made this humble accommodation option stand out was the incredible placement of this property right inside a forest with exciting promise of bird activities, and the upcoming 2 days that followed confirmed this. That particular day of arrival was uneventful as we were extremely tired after some 14 hours of driving. The next day saw us wake up very early in the morning at 5 a.m. Pushpita and me left the nest and headed towards the actual Thattekad bird sanctuary entry gate, while Ishan was left behind with his grandmother to get some more sleep. There is an ample amount of parking space. We got our entry ticket, which included the parking entry fee and the camera fee, and the total we had to pay was around 230 rupees. We first ventured into the Salim Ali bird trail. It was a beautiful trail, lined with semi-evergreen and deciduous trees. There were fig trees at regular intervals where we obviously halted in anticipation. You see, often there is an entire predator-prey cycle of life surrounding these kinds of trees. There are insects like ants and larvae of many other insects that are source of food for numerous birds. Not just the insects, but the fruits themselves are favorite food for many birds like parrots and parakeets to hornbills, starlings and barbets. Often on a nearby branch would wait birds of prey like the cicadas and eagles that would either target to hunt the birds on such trees or would target reptiles like snakes and lizards who themselves feed on small birds and insects themselves. You see, a cycle of life thus exists. We saw some southern hill mynas making all the chattering noise they could. What distinguishes this from the normal mynas are the bright colored yellow pie-like streaks on the bird's face. We completed the Salim Ali birdwatching trail. It was a loop basically, and we completed it twice and we saw many birds, as you can see. Eventually we went back to our accommodation, had a quick breakfast and again left for a quick walk. This time walking simply on the Nest Resort Road, the same off-roading trail, the only approach road to our accommodation. It was densely forested and we walked slowly in anticipation, quickly photographing whatever we came across. We heard a very unique bird call, very sharp and single tone. We tried to track the bird when we went, and there it sat, our lifer, the species that we came here specifically for, one of them actually. So the Malabar Trogon was right there. Malabar Trogon is endemic to the Western Ghats and Sri Lanka. Though IUCN says it's least concern, but it is very rare to spot it, and it's very difficult to spot it because it has a tendency to sit very still when it realizes somebody is nearby. So it's difficult to spot in spite of its bright plumage. The male has a very bright plumage, and the female has relatively dull plumage. It's not that bright orange color that the male has, so it's sexually dimorphic. They mainly feed on insects. Their breeding period varies between the population in the Western Ghats and the population in Sri Lanka. So behold the Malabar Trogon, our lifer, spotted for the first time for us at Thattekad Wildlife Sanctuary.
Thank you for watching our video on the beautiful Thattekad. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more amazing content. See you in the next video. Bye.